The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, welcome everyone. My name is Leela Rhodes and I'll be your moderator today. Thank you so much for joining us here at NetCom Learning, a market leader in promoting lifelong learning, training, and talent development solutions. We are very excited to host today's event, How to Migrate and Modernize with Microsoft Azure. And presenting today's topic is Yatharth Kapoor. Yatharth has over 5 years of experience delivering a variety of trainings on Microsoft products, including Microsoft Azure, Office 365, SCVMM, Hyper-V, and Windows Server. Yatharth has been skilled and is highly proficient on cloud computing platforms like Microsoft Azure and Google Cloud Platform, as well as in Microsoft 365 platform and MS Exchange Server Management. Now, please bear in mind that this is still just an overview of a very robust topic. We offer a collection of technical and business courses that can be tailored toward your specific requirements. So if you're interested in a further discussion about any of those, you can make an appointment with our learning consultants through our website at www.netcomlearning.com. Today's session is also being recorded, so you will get access to the recording in the next 24 hours via email. NetCom Learning helps customers build innovative learning organizations by achieving a smarter workforce, adopting change, and driving growth. And we do this with a broad catalog of offerings, developing customized learning plans, and our global delivery capabilities. Since 1998, we have been empowering organizations with our managed learning services to help them reach optimal performance results and address challenges. We have 9 practice areas in which we specialize, and they encompass people, process, and technology training. Today's presentation is from the cloud practice area. NetCom Learning offers a comprehensive training portfolio for cloud courses, and our upcoming classes include various trainings on AZ900, AZ104, AZ700, AZ120, and many more. Private training to teams is also available, and the learning plans can be customized to the specific needs of each audience. You can also access a variety of cloud marketing assets, such as the free 1-hour training, free on-demand training, by clicking on the available webinar handout, and these offerings can also be found with a simple search on our website at www.netcomlearning.com. In this instructor-led session, our Microsoft Certified Trainer, MCT, will take you through the key considerations of determining a migration strategy, defining your cloud migration goals, and discovering the right data transfer strategy. Now, I'm just going to give you a quick overview of the logistics before we do get started today. To start with, you do have the option to adjust your window size to your liking. You can simply hit the escape key and find the Zoom button on the top left corner of your GoToWebinar viewer. Everyone has been muted except for our presenters, so feel free to submit any questions you have for the presenters in the questions panel, and we will address those at the end of the session today. Also, to get the best out of today's webinar, we've included the slides, courses we've talked about, and marketing assets in the handout section of your GoToWebinar viewer, so you can refer to those to get a better understanding of today's topic. And now I'm going to go ahead and pass the time over to Yatharth to present. You should be able to share your screen now. Welcome, and thank you for joining us. You are still muted.
Thank you so much. I was just trying to see if I'm sharing the right screen. I hope I am.
You are.
Oh, thank you. So welcome everyone to the webinar, and topic for the day is how to migrate and modernize with Microsoft Azure. Like, what options do you have when you're moving to a cloud environment from either an on-premises or either a different cloud environment, and what technically these cloud concepts are, things like IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS. So we'll be going over certain things. As it was discussed, it's not a comprehensive class, so we'll just be going over the topics and we'll be discussing these things at like a 10,000 foot level. But if you have any questions that go into specifics, please feel free to ask, and I'll try to answer them to the best of my abilities. So, things that we will be discussing today: understand how to determine a migration strategy, uh, talking about availability and resiliency in Microsoft Azure, what kind of data transfer strategies you can go over, discover the steps to migrate to Microsoft Azure, and what are the migration strategies that there are. And mostly, like, why would you go to a cloud environment, or why would you go to Microsoft Azure in the first place? Why migrate? So, key concepts that we'll be talking about, or we should start talking about now, is high availability. When you move to the cloud environment, when you move to Microsoft Azure, any cloud environment for that matter, certain things remain the same. It's high availability. The virtual machines, the storages, the networks, you name it, that will be highly available. Highly available means that it will be available, and the downtime will be significantly lower than your on-premises environment that it usually is. Fault tolerance: something goes wrong, we have failover. Something goes wrong, we have disaster recovery, uh, which also like ties into fault tolerance technically. Scalability: you can scale your services right now. If you have an application, if you have a web application, if you have a web service, if you have a website, you can be sure that you can scale that application as you want it. It's not like the on-premises environment that, hey, I have 3 servers. To scale it up, I would need to scale it out, I would need like 20 different servers, and I'll have to buy 17 new ones. No, not really. You can just go to cloud environment and it's on-demand scaling right on Microsoft Azure. Elasticity: storages can be elastic here, and the clouds have a global reach. Does not matter where you are in the world. You could be in any continent, at any place, as long as you have, technically, as long as you have an internet connection, you will be able to access your servers on the cloud. So you don't need to have a data center, and you don't even need to be at a place where the internet connectivity is great. It still has a global reach. Customer latency capabilities: does not matter where you are. It ties very well into the global reach part. Does not matter where you are in the world. The latency will be lowered because, okay, let's say you're in Australia right now. So Microsoft Azure would have data centers in Australia, so that when you access Azure services or Azure resources, you will access them from, well, from your home, and they will be closer to you in Australia, so that latency can be minimized. Any gamers here would definitely know what I'm talking about. Um, Moving on, we have agility. It's an agile platform. We won't be talking about DevOps here, but yeah, DevOps services and DevOps practices are very well supported and integrated into Azure. Predictive cost considerations: you can predict how much money you will be spending, right? Not to the dot, but of course you can have a good ballpark figure as to, okay, these are the services I need, and this is the extent to which I will be using these services. That will give me a good predictive cost model. Moving on, we have disaster recovery, which ties into fault tolerance and security. Cloud is secure, and security, for most part, is not directly your responsibility. As if it was your data center, 100% your responsibility. Here, security would be a shared responsibility depending upon what kind of cloud environment we are at. Moving on, we have economies of scale. Some people say cloud can be more expensive. It can be, anything can be more expensive if not utilized properly. But usually the services on cloud are cheaper than to configure them on your own in an on-premises environment, usually being the operative word here. But when we talk about this, why is that cheaper? Because of economies of scale. Things on cloud environments are happening at such massive scale. When you want a VM, you want just a VM. What Microsoft is spinning up is millions of VMs every day, right? You're just getting one of them. So whenever you do something at a very, very large scale, the cost tends to come down. So that's what makes cloud environments usually cheaper for people who are, well, who are starting afresh. If you want to migrate from on-premises to cloud, it's a major consideration: cost. You wouldn't move to an environment if it would be more expensive and slightly more useful. No, it's pretty useful and pretty inexpensive as compared to setting up an on-premises storage from scratch, or on-premises environment from scratch rather. There are certain cloud service models. Some of you may have heard of them, or it may be new to you. They are IaaS, PaaS, SaaS, right? Infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. Depending upon what you are getting in the cloud, you just don't get cloud. You don't go to Microsoft and say, hey, I need Azure. No, Azure is a set of services. It's an umbrella for multiple services. Now, services would be categorized into these three sections. What kind of service do you need? Do you need an entire infrastructure where you will install your own software and manage everything? We can give you that. We can replace your on-premises environment with the entire infrastructure. So we can give you networking and storage and servers and everything that you want. You want a physical data center like environment, we can give you that, and applications are all your responsibility. What Microsoft will take care of is the storages, the servers, the networking, operating systems, development, applications, all your responsibility. Security is your responsibility. Well, it gives you a lot of control. Well, of course, because everything is yours. But it also becomes more expensive because you're paying for control technically, right? And you also have to do a lot of things manually in this situation, right? You have to develop your own in-house applications or buy applications separately. Other than that, if you don't want to go this route, there's a better route called platform as a service. If you want already configured databases, if you want already configured application services where you just put your code and run, right? So you want places that are ready to plug and play. You want services that are ready to plug and play. PaaS is a thing for you. So operating system and development development is partly taken care of by you, but operating systems, the networking, the storage, everything is taken care of by Microsoft. A platform is provided to you on which you can actually run your applications, whatever you want to do. PaaS seems more convenient, is more convenient, but is slightly cheaper usually than IaaS services. Reason being, you just have slightly less control. Now, this varies from service to service. Certain services are cheaper in PaaS and more expensive in IaaS, and the other way around sometimes with other services. Then comes a really cool, it's not really cool or really novel concept. It's SaaS, software as a service. What it means is that rather than even getting a platform, you say that, hey, I don't even want the platform. I just want to use the software. I don't care where that software is coming from. I don't care how that's managed. I don't care like how that is installed. I just don't care. I just need a URL or I just need an icon on my desktop. I need to double click and use the software, close it, shut my computer down, go home. That's it. SaaS is the thing for your end users. One of the very common examples you would see, Office 365, any Office 365 services, emails, SaaS. Most of the websites technically are SaaS. Now we are calling them SaaS, but usually forever we have called them websites. So if you use YouTube, it's a platform for watching YouTube. You don't really care like how to manage, maintain YouTube at the back end. For you as an end user, it's an application. So SaaS is when you are the end users or when your end users get the application. Everything else is managed, maintained by a cloud service provider. We were talking earlier that on cloud environments, a great advantage of using a cloud environment is the availability option that it provides. So it's highly available. Usually when you get a VM, a single VM, a standalone VM, that will give you a 99.9% of uptime. What does that mean, 99.9%? That means, well, if it ran for 100 days, it will be up for 99.9% days and down for 0.1%. If I put this into perspective, that technically, if it ran for 1,000 days, it will be down for 1 day. Technically, down for 1 day in 3 years. Less than 8 hours in 1 year of downtime. So that's not bad at all regarding a single VM. But when you club these VMs together, we call them availability sets because there's failover built in, right? So, okay, this VM can go down, there's lower chance, but when I cluster these VMs together, the chances of the entire cluster going down is going to be really low, right? So how low is it? Depending upon how big the cluster is. What Microsoft promises is 99.95% of uptime. 4 hours of downtime in a year, right? Usually it's even less than that. If you go with availability zones, this is some amazing stuff, right? 52 minutes or 51 minutes of downtime in the entire year. So basically 1 minute a week of downtime. I'm not saying that it goes down for a minute every week, but that's equivalent of that. That's what 99.99% means. So protection from entire data center failures, anything that goes wrong, we have you covered, right? So when you go with availability options, you have ton of availability options, and you have a disaster recovery option within Microsoft Azure as well. So if your services are super critical, if your machines or servers are super critical and have to be up at all times, you'd much rather move to cloud than have an on-premises environment where there is mostly a single point of failure configured with a little bit of failover, right? So that's great. That used to be great, but yeah, the expectations of uptime have improved drastically and have changed drastically over the years now. Excuse me. Now, next is Azure Marketplace. Whenever you are getting or buying anything from Azure, right, whether you want to migrate to Azure, whether you want to get a service that you want to migrate into, you can get PaaS services and SaaS services from Azure Marketplace directly. From independent software vendors, partners, right? If you have worked with any sales firm or if you have worked as a pre-sales architect before, this is the marketplace where you have like pre-built applications, pre-built images that you can actually buy, purchase, rent, that sort of thing, right? Moving on, we have Azure applications and services from certified cloud providers. Right. It says it includes 10,000 product listings. Actually, it's far more than that. So you can go in that direction as well, or you can just get the services directly configured on Azure if you don't want pre-configured services. Moving on, we have Azure storage services. Like I said, there are services that are PaaS, there are services that are IaaS. IaaS is, it's a blank slate. You can do whatever you want with it. And PaaS is, it's slightly configured, it's slightly more advanced, but it's ready to use by applications. IaaS services would be like, hey, I want a disk on the cloud. Yeah, I can give you a disk on the cloud. If you want SSD, you want like low latency disk, or if you want a slower magnetic disk drive, something like that can be provided to you as well as a disk. If you want to have an NFS or SMB based storage, we can give you files. That's also like ready to go. It would be like a file share that you have configured on your local machine. You can get that on a cloud environment, still IaaS. Or you can get like some more advanced storage types that are like containers. You may have heard of blob storages or S3 when you go to Amazon Web Services. Uh, what are those? They are unstructured data or text or binary files can be kept into them, and there's technically no limit to how much data that you can put in. Yeah, with disks there is a limit that, hey, it's a 500 gigabyte disk, so yeah, you can just put 500 gigabytes of data. With blobs, it's not usually the case because they are uh, technically they are like infinitely expandable, right? You can merge blobs together as well. So the idea here is that if you have massive data sets, and if you want to store them for a very low price and very high availability, you would go with containers. Not going too deep into this, or else we'll like spend the entire time into the storages, but we also have tables and queues. If you have applications that needs a queue-based storage or messaging storage, you can use a queue storage with your applications that you have. A function can be triggered through this even. Then you have tables. Tables are NoSQL data stored. They are for simpler data sets, but are in tabular form. So still structured, but simpler in situation. So size can be large, but the complexity should not be, right? So fast key and value lookups are there. So petabytes of data can be stored here and still be looked up pretty fast. All of this is built on a unified storage system, which is encrypted. Sorry about that. Which is encrypted on rest and highly durable and fault tolerance. Load balancing, by the way, is automatic, not something that we have to do. Service level agreements, you saw it earlier that, hey, it says 99.9% on the VMs. What does that mean? That just means that it will stay up 99.9% of the time. What is that? That's a service level agreement. Service level agreements are for individual products in Microsoft Azure are individually defined. For storages, there's a different SLA. For different types of storage, there would be a different SLA. But one thing is for sure, when you move to a cloud environment, the SLAs are usually better than the on-premises environment. Something like 4 nines is amazing, right? 4 nines is 52.56 minutes of downtime per year. That's not bad at all. 9995, 4 hours, 8 hours of double line. So we discussed all this stuff. Composite SLAs, when you merge multiple services together, their SLAs tend to multiply, and since those are decimal values, they tend to decrease. The bigger your system is, if you think about it, like the bigger your system is or bigger your chain of systems is, the chances of it breaking increase, right? So it's all about probability right here. It doesn't mean that it's going to be an unreliable system, but yeah, if a, a chain system is almost always more unreliable and more prone to issues than a standalone system, right? So that's what composite SLA means. Next is simplify security management with Microsoft Azure services. You have Azure services that range from identity and access management, data protection, for network security, for threat protection. So you have multiple services and they're secure on different levels. So if you are from an on-premises environment and if you have used Microsoft, well, if you have used Windows Server 2012, 16, 19, 21, doesn't matter which you have used, you would have come across something called as Active Directory, which is authentication, authorization, and auditing, kind of a situation there where you can manage users and applications. Yeah, we have a similar thing in Azure as well. We call it Azure Active Directory. It's like a lightweight, and lightweight is not a good term, but it's like a flatter version of Active Directory. For marketing purposes, the name is same. The way that they work is different. It's more managed. It's more managed by Microsoft. So it's not going to be as hard as configuring group policies. If you have done that, you know how difficult it is to actually configure group policies, configure user groups, and make sure the applications are properly aligned to, or the policies are properly aligned. So we don't have to get into that level of detail in this. Excuse me. We don't have to get into that level of detail into any of these things. Multi-factor authentication with the push of button can be configured. Same as with data protection. Azure Key Vault is there to store your credentials. With network security, things like VNet, VPN, and NSG are always available that you can use to make your network more and more secure. So network security is something that you can set up with firewalls and stuff. Threat protection and security management is managed by something called as Azure Security Center. Why am I telling you this? Because all of these products are a part of this cloud itself. You don't have to buy separate products like you do in an on-premises environment. So a lot of the on-prem applications can be eliminated by these applications when you're moving to a cloud environment. If you were using like an anti-malware for your VMs on the on-premises environment, you won't need an anti-malware for your VMs here. You can use Azure Security Center that's built into them. So just an example of how you can do things. Azure subscriptions, they're within Azure. Okay, within your on-premises environment, you can create like setup, dev, test, and prod, and those environments would like be physically isolated from one another. In Azure as well, you can do it. You can create them under different subscriptions. If you have a test environment and dev environment, you can just create them as different subscriptions and set up different payment methods for them. Set up quotas for them that, hey, this dev subscription cannot spend more than $500 a month. Great, it won't. You have a quota on it. You can also set up soft quotas and stuff like that. Usually when you go on an organizational scale, you would see that there would be multiple subscriptions that would be present for each organization, hundreds of subscriptions sometimes. And all of those subscriptions by default are absolutely isolated from one another, and they cannot communicate with each other, or the resources within these subscriptions cannot communicate with each other unless specified. So yeah, security and isolation is a great thing, and you can set up these environments rather easily on a cloud environment. Moving on, we have purchasing Azure products and services. How do you purchase these products? Well, on an enterprise scale, you would actually get as an enterprise partner directly contact with Microsoft, or you can just go to WebDirect if you're a single user, or you can go to a cloud service providers if you want to go through a Microsoft partner that can do things for you, or that can build things for you rather, if you're a business that is kind of smaller. Factors affecting cost. There are several factors that can actually affect cost of a cloud environment. Like I was telling you, if you don't use something efficiently, you'll end up paying more for it because there will be wastage. First is resource type. Costs on Microsoft Azure and for most cloud platforms, they're resource specific. Storages have different costs, different VMs have different costs, that kind of thing. So you need to be absolutely sure of what service that you're using. So you need to be super, well, you need to be super engaged with the fact or super in line with the fact that what kind of service you're going to use. So resource types and services are super important. One more thing that's kind of underrated, but is location. For different locations, costs can be slightly different. Well, there's usually a plus minus 10% sometimes. Well, let's say certain services are more expensive in Asia than in Australia and vice versa. So you have to keep in mind that where the service is cheaper, if you can take a little bit of latency for the price difference that you are getting. So that's totally an architectural and architectural decision or a decision from a costing standpoint. So that brings us to the end of our discussion on what factors to keep in mind while migrating. So there was this small image that I had, like I wanted to go over this image and discuss this with you. So just give me one moment while I share my screen. Hold on. Okay. I hope that my screen is visible. So we were talking about, one second, I think I have a chat. Nice. So we were talking about that there are several things that we can do, several migration tactics that we can do. But before we actually get to migration, we have to understand where we're moving to. So if you want to move a VM, or if you want to move a storage, or what do you want to move from an on-premises environment to the cloud environment, that is going to be a very key decision. Would a migration be a logical next step for you or not? So all of these things you have to keep under consideration. So this cannot be encompassed into a 1-hour webinar. That's a very hard thing to do. But the idea that all of these things and all of these decisions are complex and may take months, or for some companies that are large, for organizations that are large, may take over a span of over years to do, whether that's data migration, whether that's virtual machine migration. So all of these things have to be planned carefully, discussed, or everything has to be weighed in. So one of the examples that I had here is that there are several tools that you have in Microsoft Azure that can help you do the migrations. One of them is called the Azure Migrate tool. Another one is called Azure Site Recovery, which is a disaster recovery tool. Another one is called Azure Database Migration Service, right? And there are several backup tools that you can use for migration, but they are not rated for it, but still you can use them. So when would you use which tool? So if you have an on-premises environment hosted on Hyper-V here, or it could be hosted on VMware for all we care, and have Ubuntu. We have Ubuntu operating systems, we have Windows Server operating systems here, and we have a SQL. For each workload, you will have to make considerations that what will be the best way to, one, migrate it, and when I migrate it, what are the risks? Okay, you're good with the risks. How long will it take? What will be the downtime while you migrate? Right. So, and most importantly, what tool will you be using to migrate these servers? For a regular virtual machine, like that's an Ubuntu-based machine, that's not a Windows machine, or if it's a VM that's on VMware, if it's a VM that's on any other hypervisor, uh, type 1 or type 2 does not really matter on hypervisor here. But you can use a tool called Azure Migrate that can move all your workloads, whether they're VMware, whether they are based on SCVMM, whether they're based on Microsoft Hyper-V, does not matter. You can still migrate them to Microsoft Azure with the relative ease, right? So it's not super difficult to do this. Other than this, if you have Windows virtual machines, then you have an option. Yeah, you can go with Azure Migrate. Anything will migrate with Azure Migrate tool. It's a It's kind of an all-encompassing tool. But Azure Site Recovery can be used as well. This is mostly a disaster recovery tool, but can be used for migration purposes as well. And it's rather simple to use. You just have to keep a file on your or a configuration file on your server, make a connection with Microsoft Azure, and the migration will start to happen. So you can use Azure Site Recovery to do this. Downtime will be lower using Azure Site Recovery than with Azure Migrate, but you'll have to configure those things accordingly. Excuse me. Uh, Moving on, we have Smart Hotel SQL. This is an SQL server. SQL does not really move with Azure Migrate. It's not just a server, it's a database migration. Databases are far more complex than a regular virtual machine. So how you're going to do that is that you're going to use Azure Database Migration Services to actually migrate the database to Azure. And now this is not an exhaustive list. This is like just to give you an idea of how migration can happen. Migrations, that being said, are absolutely complex beasts where you would realize in the middle that, hey, something during the planning didn't go right. That's why it's the timelines are going to vary a lot. So they are projects. Migrations are not something that's a lift and shift operation. Hey, let's go to the cloud. Not really. They are projects that need to be planned in advance and planned efficiently. So that brings us to the end of the slide. I have one more slide deck to share with you, then I can give the control back to Leah and the rest of the team. So just give me a moment here. Will I share my screen? So since our discussion today has been around like migration and has been around what considerations to make when you're actually migrating to a cloud environment, there are several. This discussion was purely from a Microsoft and Azure standpoint. It would be a different discussion, slightly different, but mostly similar discussion from other clouds standpoint. But since this is since we are talking about migration here, so there are several Azure courses that can actually help you with that, several Microsoft courses that can help you with that. So our team can actually give you a demonstration or a detailed information about what these certifications are and how they work. So you can see all the Microsoft certifications now are role-based. So depending upon your role, whether you're a developer, go with AZ204. If you are an administrator, go with AZ104. If you're an architect, go with AZ305. So it does not matter what your role is, you will have a certification that you can actually pursue and well, actually increase kind of your employability and get greater recognition. But more important than that, well, you get to test your skills and you get to learn more stuff. Okay, so again, well-trained and certified teams are almost 20% more productive than other staff. Yeah, you're not spending your day job learning new stuff. You know this, so you can do it more efficiently, you can do it better, you can do it faster, right? So like I said, Azure certifications are mostly role-based. So if you are starting with AZ900, which is the absolute fundamentals, you can start with AZ900, DP900. So if you're a data fundamentals person, you can start with DP900 as well. But go into the path to become actual administrator, you can go 104. For network admin, you can go AZ700. For SAP professionals, 120. So you have several specialized certifications that are in there. Some of the really cool ones to do, some of the really good ones to do as far as the knowledge is concerned. AZ400, slightly on the challenging side the exam is, but you get to learn so much great stuff that you can use hands-on everyday life. Same way, AZ305, the architect exam, this is the one that I took. Well, really an all-encompassing exam. Everything that you would see on this exam would relate really close to will relate really closely to how you would do things in your workplace. If you're a security person, AZ500, and of course you can connect with the NetCom team and they can give you an idea of like what kind of certification would be the best of you depending upon the role that you're doing. If you do the trainings, you get like 180-day access to the virtual labs, so you can practice any day, anytime, any hour. You have those labs for the next 6 months. And for the next 1 year, you will have the recording of the trainings for your instructor-led classes from NetCom. So there are opportunities for free repeats and stuff like that. And yeah, you have the access to the NetCom learner portal where you can get all this good stuff. So yeah, you can sign up with NetCom for a training on any of these items. Some facts about Microsoft Certification Renewals. Now, renewals have kind of changed. So if you have an active Microsoft certification, I would suggest go on to the Microsoft Certification Renewal page. Now, you don't have to retest to renew your certification. They will just give you kind of a survey-ish. So they will give you a very soft, easy test of 20-25 questions that you can do from your home, non-proctored, nothing. You just do that test, validate your skills, everything is good. Your certification gets renewed for another year. You don't have to go to the center to renew your certification. So keep this in mind. So yeah, you need to go to Microsoft Learn before your certification actually expires, right? So take it from somebody who had his certification expired this way. The date does not matter. So do it 1 week in advance usually. So yeah, so let's get trained and certified. And yeah, thank you for joining in. And if you have any questions, please feel free.
Thank you so much. Okay, we are going to have a question and answer session, but before we get to that, we're going to take a quick moment and we're going to hear from Sagnik. Sagnik is our vendor marketing manager, and he's going to introduce a couple of promotions and webinar related courses. Let me make you the presenter. You should be able to share your screen now, Sagnik.
Is my screen visible?
It is.
Great, thank you, Leela. So I would like to take this opportunity to quickly take all of our attendees to some of the exclusive offerings and benefits of attending today's event, and some of the next steps that are waiting for them in their upskilling journey. So this is the event handout that every single one of the live participants or the attendees today are going to get. So feel free to explore this. You'd find the content section, everything is hyperlinked. You would be greeted with some facts about NetCom Learning as a gold learning partner of Microsoft. We have been a Microsoft Training Partner of the Year. We have serviced 80% of the Fortune 1000 companies. We are heavily involved with training deliveries with respect to the US military bases, and overall, you can see that we have a lot of experience and industry credibility when it comes to skilling. And we have some solution for whatever your needs are. If whether you are an individual learner, individual professional looking to just grow your career, or you are an organization, no matter the size, from 5 or 10 member organization to multi-global organization with thousands and thousands of employees, we have a solution that would meet your skilling needs. All you need to do is get in touch with us and explore the possibilities. It goes without saying, we are there in the industry for over 23 plus years, and we have an authorized training partner status with all the industry leading vendors, starting from Microsoft, of course, but we are also authorized training partners with AWS, Cisco, CompTIA, PMI, Axelos, EC Council, Adobe, Autodesk. You name a vendor, we are qualified to provide you authorized training straight from the vendor, and with respect to your specific focus on your specific objectives, whether as an individual professional or as a business altogether. As part of the handout, you would also find a slide with the link to today's session recording. So this session was being recorded. So if you want to go back and revise, please feel free to revisit the recording in future. Now, as part of an exclusive benefit or privilege to all the participants in this webinar, we are providing you with the learner portal access for NetCom 365. We highly encourage everyone to please follow the steps. You can click on the link here and follow the steps for activating your account. your account has been created from the backend, but you still have to activate with using your registered email ID that you used for attending this session. And you can log in through multiple ways. You can set up a password or use your Google or Microsoft or Amazon IDs to access. You'd also find a lot of materials there, including the participation certificates. You'd find the listing of upcoming events that you can participate in. So we highly encourage to go through and explore this learning portal. Now, let's quickly take you through some of the latest offers on Microsoft that we have live right now. So the first and the foremost is the Microsoft Skilling Program. It is primarily targeted towards enterprises, and it acts as the one-stop end-to-end upskilling solution. No matter the size of your organization, if you are an enterprise with multiple members in your team, you are eligible to participate in this program. Now, this is driven by NetCom Learning, and we are a Microsoft partner, and that means there are some exclusive benefits that you get to enjoy across the entire Microsoft training portfolio, across Azure, Security, Microsoft 365, Dynamics 365, and Power Platform. Benefits include definitely you get huge exclusive enterprise discounts on your learning plan deployment. We have technology in place that enables you, if you are an organization with employees spread across multiple locations, we're going to make sure that you have the easiest and most convenient enrollment and onboarding process in place. You get both the learner as well as a decision maker access to the NetCom 365 portal that allows you, your management team and your leadership to really monitor and see the progress of individual learners and get some insights into the learner's journey and the overall training progress of your team. And it's a truly 360-degree upskilling program. That means across products, across the entire Microsoft ecosystem, you're going to get your skilling options. Please feel free to connect, get in touch with us. The initial skilling discussion session is free of cost. So without any financial commitment, you can just get in touch with one of our learning advisors and have a very informed conversation about your skilling plans and what would be the best way for you to approach and go forward. As mentioned by our instructor today, as part of the overall offering, you get a link to the official Microsoft ebook on the win-win of certifications. It's a powerhouse of information wherein Microsoft has conducted these multiple surveys across organizations, and you get the perspective on what are the benefits of certifying employees and having the upskilling and participating in this skilling process, both from the employee as well as the employer perspective. So feel free to go through this ebook. The access links are included in these handouts. As you can see, you have to just click on the read free ebook and follow the steps, and you'd be getting access to your ebook for free. Next up, we also have a promotion that is called the NetCom Plus. It is an individual learner subscription, particularly catering to the needs of individual learners. So if you are a learner, or if you are even a company with a specific size of team, and you want to empower each of your team members with the with the capability of pursuing and continuing their individual learning journeys throughout an entire year, NetCom Plus is the go-to solution for that. For just $2,999 per learner per year, for learners less than 10, if you are an enterprise or a team having more than 10 learners, you would be eligible for further discounted pricing. But for $2,999 as a standard price, you get access to more than 350 training classes, including 60 official Microsoft courses, and these are official VILT courses that you get access to. So across vendors, Microsoft, AWS, Cisco, Confia, you get 12 months worth of learning. It is a great solution. We highly encourage you to explore it or schedule a free call to understand more about this offering. We also have a learning passport. This is a great option for enterprises in particular. The NetCom Plus subscription is kind of locked into a specific learner, wherein the learning passport, it gives you organization that flexibility to train multiple employees of your team, across teams, across your organization, basically across the entire training portfolio of NetCom Learning. So we are talking about 4,000 plus official courses across vendors, valid for 12 months, and it allows you to increase your training fund value by up to 100%. So feel free to get in touch and explore and learn more about the solution if it is the right fit for you. Also, an exclusive offer right now, only valid till the 30th of June, 2022. That is the end of this month. We have a security bundle offer going on for Microsoft, wherein you get the official VILT course plus an exam voucher, the certification exam voucher that we all learned about, the value it gets you both as an employee or as an employer, and an additional practice test, official practice test that prepares you to pass that certification exam for the first time. So this entire bundle is available across the entire Microsoft security portfolio, which includes the SC900, 200, 300, 400, the AZ500, and the MS500 courses. Feel free to explore these courses. All the code names of the courses have been hyperlinked. Feel free to go to these pages and explore if it's the right fit. And please pick a schedule that is eligible before the 30th of June to redeem this benefit. As already discussed by our instructor, this slide is a great value for our learners. Please feel free to go through this. The entire learning journey has been mapped here, complete with individual links. So every item here is hyperlinked. All you have to do is just click the one that you want to explore. You'd land on our landing page. You can go through the course outline, take a free assessment if you want to test your skills, if you're already on track for it. If you want to understand, do you need to take the course at all, please feel free to go through the free assessment on the individual course pages, and you can continue your journey. Also, look out for our upcoming free masterclasses. We have two masterclass sessions coming up related to Microsoft, one in July and another one in August. Feel free to register for these events, and we hope to see you then. That's all from my end. Back to you, Leela.
Thank you so much. Okay, so we'll go ahead and hop into our question answer session. Let me share my screen real quick. Okay, it looks like our first question that we have is, can we lift and shift IaaS as services to PaaS?
Well, the answer is yes, you can lift and shift IaaS services to PaaS. Technically, it will be technically you have to see that whether there is a service that's comparable to your IaaS service. Like, for example, you can definitely move a newer Windows SQL database to an Azure SQL 100%. So yeah, the answer is yes.
Thank you. Okay. Our next question we have is, in an AWS to Azure, or sorry, is an AWS to Azure or GCP to Azure migration possible?
Yes, it is. So it does not matter where the source or the destination is, migration is usually possible across clouds. So if you have your workloads in AWS or GCP or on-prem, does not matter. We can just move them and migrate them to Azure.
Wonderful. Okay. It looks like I'm seeing one more question in our queue, and once we do get through our questions, we will wrap up. So if you do have any, go ahead and get those in now. So what's the migration timeline look like for an on-prem to cloud migration?
Like I said, it's migration is usually a big project. It depends upon the complexity of your environment. So it can go anywhere from like a few days if it's a very small environment to a few months if it's a very large environment. So it would be a lot of project planning and stuff like that. So it's a project in general. So yeah, timelines vary.
Wonderful. Okay, well, with that, it does look like we've gotten through all of our questions. So we're going to go ahead and take a quick moment to launch a poll and find out how many people might be interested in taking some additional training. In addition to today's webinar, we have a lot of informative webinars coming up. So please go to www.netcomlearning.com/webinars/ to register for any of those. We want to thank you all for joining us today. If you do come up with any additional questions, please feel free to send them to us at any time at webinar@netcomlearning.com. And we want to, we want to thank you, Yatharth, for joining us. And we hope you all found today's webinar to be informative. We look forward to seeing you back here with us very soon. Also, feel free to tell your friends and colleagues about our webinars and other courses. Once again, thank you, everyone, and have a wonderful day.